Have you ever witnessed a miracle born from tragedy? In the small town of Cedar Grove, Montana, a story unfolded that would touch the hearts of everyone who heard it. It began on a foggy morning in September when fate brought together two unlikely souls, an elderly man named William Parker and a magnificent horse who would change his life forever. This is a tale of hope, redemption, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. William Parker, at 73, lived alone in his modest farmhouse on the outskirts of town. Every morning, he would drive his old blue Chevrolet pickup along Route 27, visiting the graves of his beloved wife Margaret and son David. The ritual had become his anchor in a world that seemed increasingly empty and meaningless. His weathered hands, marked by decades of farm work, would grip the steering wheel as tears silently rolled down his cheeks. Just 2 miles down the road lived Thunder, a majestic black Arabian horse owned by the local therapeutic riding center. Thunder wasn't just any horse. He had a special gift for helping children with disabilities find their confidence and joy. His gentle soul and patient nature had made him a favorite among the volunteers and children alike. Each morning he would watch the sunrise from his paddock, his dark eyes full of wisdom. The morning of September 15th started like any other, as light with a thick blanket of fog covering the countryside. The visibility was so poor that William could barely see 20 feet ahead of his truck. He drove slowly, his thoughts drifting to memories of Margaret's laugh and David's smile. The radio played softly in the background, a country song about loss and healing that seemed to echo his own story perfectly. Thunder had somehow managed to escape his paddock that morning, drawn by a patch of fresh grass just beyond the fence. Nobody noticed his absence in the early morning darkness, and the fog provided the perfect cover for his adventure. He moved quietly through the mist, his hooves making soft sounds on the dewy grass. The horse's natural curiosity had led him closer to the road than he'd ever been before. The moment of impact came without warning. William caught a glimpse of movement in his headlights, but it was too late to stop completely. The sound of his truck hitting Thunder's flank was deafening in the quiet morning air. Time seemed to freeze as William's heart stopped, his worst fears playing out before his eyes. The truck skidded slightly on the wet pavement before coming to a complete stop. As William stumbled out of his truck, his legs shaking with fear and adrenaline, he expected to find the worst. Instead, he found Thunder standing calmly in the road, looking at him with eyes that seemed to hold no fear or anger. The horse's coat gleamed in the dim morning light, and despite the collision, he appeared to be standing strongly on all 4 legs. It was a moment that would be forever etched in William's memory. The fog began to lift slightly, revealing the stunning beauty of Thunder against the backdrop of the Montana landscape. William approached slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. To his amazement, Thunder lowered his head and allowed William to touch his neck, as if understanding the old man's distress. The gentle gesture brought tears to William's eyes. It had been so long since he'd felt such a pure connection with another living being. Quickly, William pulled out his phone to call for help, his fingers trembling as he dialed the local veterinarian's number. He couldn't bear the thought of this magnificent creature being hurt because of him. As he waited for help to arrive, he stayed with Thunder, speaking softly to him about Margaret and David, about loss and loneliness. Thunder listened with remarkable attentiveness, his ears forward, his presence calming. News travels fast in small towns, and within minutes, several cars had stopped to help. Among them was Sarah Thompson, the director of the Therapeutic Riding Center, who had been frantically searching for Thunder since discovering his empty paddock. Instead of anger, she found herself moved by the scene before her, an elderly man and a horse, connected in what appeared to be a moment of mutual understanding and comfort. She watched as William gently stroked Thunder's neck, whispering words only the horse could hear. The local police arrived next, followed by Dr. James Martinez, the town's veterinarian. The initial examination showed no obvious injuries, but everyone knew that with horses, internal injuries could take time to manifest. William insisted on staying throughout the examination, his concern for Thunder evident in every worried glance and question he asked Dr. Martinez. The connection between man and horse was undeniable. Thunder remained surprisingly calm throughout the examination, occasionally turning his head to nuzzle William's shoulder, as if trying to reassure the distressed man that everything would be all right. The gathered crowd watched in amazement as the horse, who was known for his sensitivity, seemed to understand exactly what William needed in that moment. It was as if fate had brought them together for a reason none of them yet understood. Cedar Grove had always been a town where neighbors helped neighbors, where tragedy often brought out the best in people. As the morning unfolded, it became clear that this accident would become more than just a collision between a truck and a horse. It would be the beginning of a story that would touch hearts and remind people of the healing power of unexpected connections. But no one could have predicted the challenges that lay ahead, or the extraordinary journey of healing that was about to begin. William's hands had finally stopped shaking as he helped secure Thunder for transport back to the riding center. Something had shifted in him during those tense morning hours, a spark of purpose he hadn't felt since losing his family. As he watched the horse trailer pull away, he made a silent promise to himself and to Thunder that this wouldn't be the end of their story. Little did he know how prophetic that promise would prove to be, or how much their lives would become intertwined in the days ahead. The peaceful morning following the accident brought a devastating discovery at the riding center. Thunder, who had seemed fine initially, began showing signs of distress. His breathing became labored, and his usually proud stance was replaced by a subtle but concerning slouch. Dr. Martinez, who had stayed overnight to monitor him, noticed a slight swelling developing along the horse's left side, indicating possible internal injuries. Sarah Thompson watched with growing concern as Thunder's condition deteriorated. The initial impact had caused more damage than anyone had anticipated, a severe internal bruising that threatened to restrict blood flow to vital organs. The treatment would require specialized equipment and expertise that their small-town clinic simply didn't have. The nearest equine hospital was in Billings, nearly 3 hours away. The cost of emergency transport and treatment would be astronomical, well over $15,000. The therapeutic riding center, already operating on a tight budget, couldn't afford such an expense. Sarah gathered her staff for an emergency meeting, their faces reflecting the gravity of the situation. They all knew that without immediate intervention, Thunder's condition could become critical within hours. William arrived at the center just as the meeting was concluding. He had barely slept, haunted by memories of the accident and concern for Thunder. When he learned about the horse's condition, his face crumbled with guilt and despair. The same helplessness he had felt watching his wife battle cancer now threatened to overwhelm him completely. Thunder's reaction to William's presence was remarkable. Despite his pain, the horse lifted his head and nickered softly when the elderly man approached his stall. Their connection, forged in the fog of yesterday's accident, seemed to have deepened overnight. William pressed his forehead against Thunder's neck, whispering promises of help. The local fire department, already stretched thin by a massive forest fire in the next county, had only one firefighter remaining at the station. Lieutenant Jessica Chen, a 20-year veteran of the force, listened intently as Sarah explained their desperate need for help transporting Thunder. The department's rescue truck was their only hope. Time was working against them. Thunder's condition was deteriorating faster than anyone had anticipated. His breathing became more labored with each passing hour, and the swelling had begun to spread. Dr. Martinez administered what medications he could, but without proper treatment, they were merely buying time. The community began rallying together as word spread about Thunder's situation. Local farmers offered their trucks, and children emptied their piggy banks. But even with their combined efforts, they were still far short of the amount needed for Thunder's treatment. The weight of impossibility pressed down on everyone involved. William sat in his truck, staring at the bank statement in his trembling hands. His life savings, $12,000 meant for a modest funeral, could help save Thunder. But the decision wasn't simple. Those funds represented his last bit of independence, his assurance that he wouldn't burden his distant relatives when his time came. Thunder's condition took a dramatic turn for the worse around noon. His legs began to shake, and he struggled to remain standing. The sight of such a magnificent creature in distress brought tears to everyone's eyes. Dr. Martinez warned that without immediate transport to Billings, they might have to consider humane euthanasia. The Therapeutic Riding Center's children gathered outside Thunder's stall, their small faces pressed against the windows. Many of them had overcome significant challenges with Thunder's help. First steps taken, first words spoken, first smiles in months. Their silent prayers added another layer of emotional weight to the unfolding drama. Lieutenant Chen worked frantically to modify the rescue truck, her decades of experience driving her to find creative solutions. The truck wasn't designed for horse transport, but she refused to accept defeat. Every minute counted, and she could feel the hopes of the entire community resting on her shoulders. William paced outside the stall, his mind racing through possible solutions. He had already called his bank to withdraw his savings, but it still wasn't enough. The ghost of helplessness that had haunted him since Margaret's death threatened to overwhelm him once again. He couldn't bear to lose another soul he had come to love. As Thunder's breathing grew more labored and the sun climbed higher in the Montana sky, the situation reached a critical point. They needed a miracle, and they needed it soon. The next few hours would determine not just Thunder's fate, but the fate of everyone whose lives he had touched. Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the tense atmosphere like a bolt of lightning. She had successfully modified the rescue truck, creating a makeshift horse transport unit using equipment from the station's storage. The modifications weren't pretty, but they were strong and secure. Her engineering background from before joining the fire service had finally found its moment to shine in this crucial emergency situation. William didn't hesitate when he heard the final cost of Thunder's treatment. Without a word, he walked to his truck, pulled out his checkbook, and wrote a check for his entire life savings. "I've lived my life," he said quietly to Sarah, his voice thick with emotion. "Thunder still has so many lives to touch." The simple gesture brought tears to everyone's eyes and sparked a chain of events nobody could have predicted. A local news reporter covering the forest fire had overheard Thunder's story and began live-streaming the rescue efforts. Within minutes, the feed went viral, reaching thousands of viewers across the state. Comments and donations started pouring in, overwhelming the small town's community fund website. The story touched hearts across the nation, creating a wave of support that would soon change everything. Dr. Martinez worked quickly to stabilize Thunder for transport, his experienced hands moving with practiced precision. The horse's vital signs were weak but stable, and with the proper support, he could survive the journey to Billings. Time was still their enemy, but now they had a fighting chance. The doctor's determination matched the intensity of the moment as he prepared Thunder for the challenging journey ahead. The loading process was a masterclass in patience and teamwork. Lieutenant Chen had created a perfect-fitting ramp, and William stood at Thunder's head, speaking soft words of encouragement. Despite his pain, Thunder trusted the elderly man completely, following his lead with remarkable courage. The bond between them seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment of this critical operation. Sarah coordinated with the Billings Equine Hospital, arranging for a team of specialists to be ready upon their arrival. The hospital had seen the viral live stream and offered a significant discount on their services. The community's outpouring of support had touched hearts far beyond Cedar Grove's borders. Medical teams from across the state offered their expertise, creating a network of hope for Thunder's recovery. As Thunder was carefully secured in the modified rescue truck, William insisted on riding along. His presence seemed to keep the horse calm, and no one had the heart to refuse him. The bond between them had grown stronger through the crisis, becoming something almost magical to witness. The elderly man's devotion to the horse touched everyone who witnessed their connection that morning. The journey to Billings became a race against time. Lieutenant Chen drove with steady hands, navigating the winding mountain roads with expert precision. In the back, William kept a constant vigil, his weathered hand resting on Thunder's neck, their breaths somehow falling into sync. Every bump and turn was met with collective held breath as they pressed forward toward their destination. The viral live stream continued to gather viewers, with people from across the country sending prayers and support. Local news stations picked up the story, broadcasting updates about the unusual rescue mission. The story of an elderly man's devotion to saving the horse that he had accidentally injured touched something deep in people's hearts. Social media exploded with messages of hope and encouragement. Thunder's strength seemed to be holding, bolstered perhaps by William's unwavering presence. Each mile brought them closer to help, but also tested the horse's endurance. The modified rescue truck performed flawlessly, a testament to Lieutenant Chen's skill and determination. The journey became a powerful symbol of hope for everyone following their story online and through local news. The team at Billings Equine Hospital was ready and waiting when they arrived, having prepared their best surgical suite. The lead surgeon, Dr. Rebecca Wong, had already reviewed Thunder's case and developed a treatment plan. The quick response from the hospital staff gave everyone a surge of hope. The entire facility had mobilized to provide the best possible care for their special patient. The moment of separation was difficult for William. As the medical team led Thunder away, the horse turned his head back one last time, eyes locked with his elderly friend. In that moment, both man and horse seemed to draw strength from each other, a silent promise passing between them. The connection they shared brought tears to the eyes of the hardened medical professionals. Local media had gathered outside the hospital, drawn by the story's viral appeal. William stood before the cameras, his quiet dignity and obvious love for Thunder moving viewers to tears. His simple explanation of why he gave up his life savings, because sometimes love means giving everything you have, would be quoted in newspapers across the country. His words resonated with millions who followed the story, inspiring an outpouring of support and generosity. The surgical team worked with focused precision, their expertise guided by the latest medical technology. Hours passed like days for those waiting outside, but nobody left. The community that had formed around Thunder and William kept their vigil, united in hope and prayer. The hospital waiting room became a gathering place for people from all walks of life, brought together by love. After 6 intense hours of surgery, Dr. Wong emerged from the operating room with news that would change everything. Thunder's internal injuries had been successfully repaired, and though recovery would take time, he was expected to make a full comeback. The collective sigh of relief from the gathered crowd seemed to shake the very foundations of the hospital building. William, who hadn't moved from his chair in the waiting room since Thunder went into surgery, broke down in tears of joy. The community members present surrounded him with support, sharing in his relief and happiness. The viral fundraising campaign had exceeded all expectations, raising not only enough for Thunder's treatment, but also to replenish William's life savings. Thunder's recovery process began immediately, with round-the-clock care from the dedicated hospital staff. His resilience amazed everyone. Within days, he was standing stronger, his eyes bright with renewed life. William visited every day, making the 3-hour drive without fail, often arriving before sunrise to spend as much time as possible with his newfound friend. The story of Thunder and William's bond continued to spread, touching hearts across the country. News outlets picked up the tale of redemption and healing, focusing on the unexpected friendship between an elderly man and the horse he had accidentally injured. Their story became a symbol of hope and second chances, inspiring others to believe in the power of connection and community. The Therapeutic Riding Center received an unprecedented wave of support, with donations and volunteers pouring in from everywhere. Thunder's story had shed light on the important work they did, and the community rallied to ensure their program could continue helping children in need. Sarah found herself fielding calls from other centers nationwide, all wanting to learn from their experience. As Thunder grew stronger, William discovered a new purpose in life. He began volunteering at the center, sharing his story with visitors and helping care for the horses. His depression lifted as he found himself surrounded by a new family of friends and supporters. The long days of loneliness were replaced with meaningful connections and renewed sense of purpose. Local businesses joined forces to create a special fund for the Therapeutic Riding Center, ensuring its financial stability for years to come. Thunder's medical bills were completely covered, and William's life savings were not only restored, but doubled through the generosity of strangers touched by their story. The community's unity had created a lasting legacy of hope. Thunder's return to Cedar Grove was celebrated with a community festival that brought together people from all over the state. Lieutenant Chen was honored for her ingenuity in modifying the rescue truck, and Dr. Gray Martinez received recognition for his quick thinking and dedication. The day became a celebration of not just Thunder's recovery, but the power of community spirit. William's relationship with Thunder deepened during the recovery process. The horse seemed to understand the elderly man's need for companionship, often greeting him with gentle, nickering sounds that spoke of their special bond. Together, they helped each other heal, Thunder from his physical injuries and William from his emotional wounds. The children at the therapeutic riding center eagerly awaited Thunder's return to work, and when he finally resumed his duties, the celebrations were jubilant. His gentle nature remained unchanged, and if anything, his experience seemed to have made him even more attuned to those in need of healing. William often sat nearby, watching with pride as Thunder helped others find their strength. Sarah noticed a remarkable change in both Thunder and William. The horse seemed more serene, more confident in his therapeutic work. And William, who had once been a shadow of himself, now stood tall with purpose in his steps. Their story of healing and hope had transformed not just their lives, but the entire community's understanding of what was possible through love and dedication. The local fire department installed a special plaque commemorating the rescue, and Lieutenant Chen's modified transport design was shared with other rural fire departments across the country. The incident had sparked innovations in emergency large animal rescue techniques, creating a lasting impact on how similar situations would be handled in the future. Thunder's recovery became a testament to the power of community and connection. The accident that could have ended in tragedy instead sparked a chain of events that brought out the best in everyone involved. William's daily visits became a familiar sight at the center, his presence a reminder that sometimes life's greatest gifts come disguised as moments of crisis. Through their journey of healing and hope, Thunder and William had become inseparable friends. Their story continued to inspire others, reminding people that it's never too late for a new beginning. The bond between them transcended their initial tragic meeting, blossoming into something beautiful that touched countless lives. They had become living proof that love and dedication could overcome any obstacle. 1 year after the accident that brought Thunder and William together, Cedar Grove had been transformed. The therapeutic riding center had doubled in size, serving more children than ever before. William, no longer the lonely widower, had become a beloved fixture at the center, sharing his and Thunder's story with visitors from around the country who came to witness their extraordinary bond. The impact of their story reached far beyond the small Montana town. Other communities began developing their own emergency response protocols for large animal rescue, inspired by Lieutenant Chen's innovative solution. The power of social media and community support had shown that when people come together, seemingly impossible obstacles can be overcome through love and determination. The children who worked with Thunder noticed something special about him now: a deeper patience, an almost intuitive understanding of their struggles. Those who knew his story saw how the horse, who had once needed healing, had become an even more powerful healer himself. William would often say that Thunder's greatest gift wasn't just surviving, but showing others how to find strength in adversity. Thunder's story became a beacon of hope for many who faced their own challenges. The footage of his rescue, William's unwavering dedication, and the community's response continued to inspire people worldwide. Local schools used their story to teach children about compassion, perseverance, and the extraordinary bonds that can form between humans and animals in the most unexpected circumstances. William no longer visited the cemetery alone each morning. Instead, he would lead Thunder on gentle walks around the center's grounds, sharing stories with his equine friend about Margaret and David. The horse would listen with those same understanding eyes that had first connected with William on that foggy morning, reminding him that love never truly leaves us. It just changes form. In the end, what began as a tragic accident became a testament to the healing power of unconditional love and community support. Thunder and William's story proved that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin in moments of crisis, and that it's never too late to find purpose, connection, and joy in the most unexpected places.